Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing Season 1 of The Witcher. So, before I do head into my thoughts and feelings on Season 1 of The Witcher, I don't think I'm going to sit here and do any sort of spoilers, you guys. So yeah, if you've not seen The Witcher, or if you're not all caught up, I don't think I'm going to have any sort of spoilers, so if you want to watch, then watch. So yeah, Season 1 of The Witcher, you guys. I guess another disclaimer. I have never read the Witcher books. I have never played the Witcher video games. So for me personally, heading into this first season of The Witcher, this was all totally new and different for me. I'm not familiar with the characters, or the world, or the fantasy elements, or whatever involved. Just everything was brand new to me. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from with this video, you guys. So yeah, if you're a fan of the video games and the books, and you're sitting here watching my video and you're like, oh, this stupid woman don't know what she's talking about. Well, because I've never watched the things, you guys. I've never watched the video games or the books or whatever. So yeah, that's where my point of view is coming from. So yeah, let's get going with the review. The Witcher, we had 8 episodes for this first season on Netflix. And I was really impressed with this first season. I mean, it had its ups and downs, not gonna lie. This first season had its ups and downs for me. And I think I was more confused than anything for a good majority of it, but still, I really enjoyed this first season. I love all things fantasy. I love Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and Narnia and whatnot. So yeah, this show was definitely something right up my alley that I knew I was going to enjoy either way. And yeah, I think this first season, they definitely went all out with everything. I love the locations. This world felt huge and open. It just felt never-ending, you know? It felt like a very never-ending open world of some sort, almost like a video game, if you will. I think the CGI budget was very good. Like, anything involving magic was done very well. And then I think, like, you know, obviously, like, if there's a castle in the background, or just any sort of thing in the background that needed to be added, the CGI was very good there. I think the couple places where the CGI suffered for me was anything involving, like, some of the creatures. Because there's some instances of some creatures, and some of the CGI felt a little weird and awkward to me, and the creatures looked like CGI. So I tried to kind of get past that and ignore it, because sometimes some of the creatures were making me think of, like, the special effects like on Harry Potter, as terrible as that might sound, because there's moments in the Harry Potter movies that the CGI, like Dobby, you know, in Harry Potter, for instance, the CGI for Dobby is amazing, but then like Hagrid's brother, like, he's introduced in what, book 5, and then movie 5, like in movie 5, for instance, Hagrid's brother, the CGI is god-awful in that. And yeah, there were moments in The Witcher this first season, like certain types of creatures, I was like, oh god, this is making me just think of certain creatures from Harry Potter where the CGI was not done very good. But yeah, I think for the most part the CGI was very well done for certain things, especially just anything with magic. It was done very good. And then yeah, anything like in the background was done really good. You know, anything that needed to expand something. And something that kind of surprised me about this first season, I mean, I was expecting the episodes to be rather linear, I suppose. So a couple things here. Like I said, I was expecting the season to be linear. And then for another thing, kind of as part of the linear nature I was expecting, the thing is, the episodes were very episodic. Like, there was a different quest, a different mission going on in every episode. Like, things were not running, you know, like, we didn't have, like, a running narrative, if that makes sense. I mean, there was a running narrative, but, like, not a continuously flowing narrative, like, episode, like, going, you know, like maybe an episode would end with a cliffhanger or something, and then we'd head into the next episode to resolve that cliffhanger. There was never anything like that with, like, cliffhangers. the episodes a lot of times, because I knew these were based off of video games, the episodes a lot of times did feel very much like video game cutscenes almost, if that makes sense. You know, like here you are, your character, they get a mission. They're gonna go over here and do this mission before they go over here on their main quest or whatever. So yeah, a lot of the episodes felt very episodic in nature, like this is the mission in this episode. We wrap it up in this episode. Then the next episode, here's the mission. We wrap it up in this episode. So yeah, everything felt very episodic, but you at least would be learning about the characters in the meantime, at least, which I appreciated, because that's kind of the big thing for me. I wanted to learn about the characters more than anything. And yeah, like I mentioned, this season is not a very linear season by any means. And this is where my biggest kind of issue with the season came into being, because I still don't entirely know how I feel about it. I was not aware that this show had like multiple different timelines going on, you guys. There's definitely, at least to my knowledge, there's definitely like 3 different timelines going on throughout the season. And sometimes you're in the past, sometimes you were in the present, sometimes you're in what I was kind of thinking of as the future. So I never quite understood exactly where I was at any given time, because sometimes you wouldn't be even given a hint or a clue. You had to really read into the context and read into the dialogue and really kind of look at how characters looked sometimes to get an idea of okay, you're here in the timeline. And yeah, that was a big frustration at me when I first found out, because I think it was episode 4? I'm trying to remember. I think it was episode 4 when I realized, oh, there's multiple timelines going on. Because in episode 1, you're introduced to a set of characters, and I know I said this wasn't going to be a spoiler review, but still, kind of for the sake of expressing what I'm trying to express, you're introduced to a bunch of characters in episode 1, and then yeah, by the time you get to the end of that episode, quite a number of them are dead. So then yeah, we flash forward to episode 4, and then I was so terribly confused, you guys, because those characters from episode 1 who are dead, they're all of a sudden alive and perfectly well in episode 4. So I was terribly confused. I thought I had missed something. I was like, wait, what? It kind of made me feel a little stupid, not gonna lie. And then, so yeah, I had to look up, like, reviews. I had to look up reviews, I had to look up timelines to keep myself straight about what was going on and how to kind of figure out when I was in the past, the present, and the future, you know what I mean? So yeah, this show is not a very linear show. I definitely had some issues with that because I was very confused for the most part. But the thing is, now that I know there are different timelines, I feel like I need to rewatch the season with that knowledge, and I think I'll appreciate things a heck of a lot better than I did, you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe that's something I definitely need to do. I definitely need to rewatch and get a deeper appreciation. And something else I kind of liked about this show is I felt like it wasn't taking itself overly seriously, because a lot of times I feel like this season overall was very silly. Sometimes I felt like there was a lot of silly things going on, a lot of the dialogue was very silly, there was almost something about it that felt kind of cheesy and campy, but not in a bad way. So I liked that this show, it's not like dark and depressing, you know, it's not Game of Thrones, you know, because Game of Thrones is like very serious and dark and depressing. So yeah, this show is not dark and depressing by any means. It has a bit more of a lightness to it and humor and silliness. So I kind of found that refreshing, you know, especially coming off the high drama and intensity of something like Game of Thrones, for instance. So yeah, I'm going to go through some of the cast really quickly, some of my highlights, starting with Henry Cavill, you guys. I gotta definitely shout out Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill playing Geralt, the Witcher. Henry Cavill is definitely the #1 reason I was watching this show, because I love Henry Cavill. I've been watching him since he was on The Tudors. I loved him on The Tudors. I love him as Superman. I really loved him as Geralt, you guys. Geralt is kind of moody and kind of grumpy and brooding, and he doesn't smile very often. Yeah, Henry Cavill pulled off this character amazingly, I think. Just the overall look. The look looked amazing on him, you know, with that long silver hair and all the black leather. Yeah, he really fit into that look of the character. Very, very sexy. Definitely did not complain when his clothes would come off, you guys. I loved Geralt, just a really fascinating character. I think my one complaint with Geralt is that he is the one character that I really don't know very much about, you guys. Considering he is the Witcher, he is the main character of the show, I feel like he's the one character I just have no clue about and what his backstory is. But we do get a hint of his backstory in kind of the season finale. It's kind of, you're kind of given some things there. So I feel like season 2 is really going to focus on him a lot and focus on his backstory, which I'm looking forward to. Because, yeah, I really want to learn more about him, other than him being just a super awesome badass, you know? So yeah, I loved Henry Cavill. Definitely the biggest highlight of the season was definitely Anya Shalatra playing Yennefer. I loved Yennefer. Her story starts off in some interesting places. She looks a certain way before she has a crazy magical transformation. I just loved Yennefer. She was opinionated and strong-minded and strong-willed and just willing to do just absolutely anything for herself and for the people that she liked. I really sympathized with her. There were things that you could relate to her with. She was just easily one of the most compelling, interesting characters of the season, for me anyway. And yeah, she had some of the best costumes, you guys. I bet next year at Comic-Con, there's going to be tons of people cosplaying as Yennefer, because her costuming was spectacular. And then we have Freya Allan, who played Princess Cirilla, right? Princess Cirilla, or she went by Ciri. Ciri was an interesting character. I did not dislike Ciri. I did like Ciri as a character, but yeah, her character a lot of times felt very stagnant, and she just felt like she wasn't really moving that much. I definitely need more of her to form a better opinion, but for the most part, I liked Ciri. I liked going on her journey. I was interested to see where her journey was going, because yeah, she's supposed to tie in to our main characters, you know, and so it's a journey of how does she finally connect to our main characters. So yeah, where's her character going, you guys? Especially after the season finale, I was kind of like, oh, we're finally getting to some good places with her character, but now the season is ending. And then another surprise that I love this season, Joey Beatty, who played Jaskier, I think is how the name is pronounced. Jaskier, good God, he's a bard. He's always just kind of singing randomly. That's kind of his thing. He's out there trying to make a penny off of his songs, and he's essentially writing songs about the Witcher, you know, talking about Geralt and whatnot, and his exploits and his journeys and the things he does. Seriously, the song "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher," because I think that's how was that how episode 2 ended? I think that's how episode 2 ended, was with the "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher" song. I was like, oh, hell yes, I love this song. I was sitting there bopping my head to it, and I kind of found myself humming along to it and singing it. I've been singing that song like every day, you guys. I can't get that song out of my head. It's so super catchy. So yeah, thank you to the Witcher series for giving me a bard, because Jaskier was easily one of my favorites, and every time he sang and came up with the song, I loved it. I need a soundtrack now. I also really love Jodie May, who played Queen Calanthe. She was just a badass warrior queen, no nonsense. She's gonna have an attitude with you if you give her any lip. I loved her. I'm kind of hoping we see more of her. I don't know if that's gonna be possible, but I would love to see more of Queen Calanthe. And yeah, kind of speaking of Queen Calanthe, that makes me think of characters like Ciri and Yennefer and just a bunch of other ladies. I loved the strong female cast of this show because since it's a fantasy series, I was heavily expecting it to be very male dominated. So I was pleasantly surprised that this cast it has a very strong female cast of a bunch of badass women that come from all sorts of different backgrounds and whatnot. So yeah, I appreciated this first season giving me a great cast of lady characters. That was pretty cool. And I guess just to kind of finalize some of my thoughts here, I guess some other problems I was having with this first season, this show has a lot of characters. It doesn't have the same amount of characters as something like Game of Thrones had, but there's still a lot of characters, and I think some of my problems was that I just had a hard time with names, you guys. A lot of these names are just very, very foreign and made up, and a lot of them I was like, I'm not sure what the pronunciation is that they're giving it. How do you even spell that name? Because, you know, at least on something like Game of Thrones, you have a character named Jon. You guys, that's easy to remember. You got a character named Robb. That's easy to remember. You got a character named Ned. That's easy to remember. Game of Thrones just had a lot of characters that they had very easy names, and you can quickly kind of associate that name to a face, if that makes sense. Because then every so often you would have a character like Daenerys, you know, someone with a crazy name, and it might take you a little longer to be like, who is that again? But yeah, The Witcher, I felt like everybody had a very complex sounding name, and I just never really knew whose name was who. You know, other than the main characters that I just listed, a lot of people, I really didn't know what their names were, how to pronounce them, how to even spell them. I had to get like on IMDb half the time to see what the character was. So yeah, I did have a problem with characters and names and also places. So yeah, sometimes I was just very confused about a location, like where people were going, or I was confused about like if characters were talking about another character. I was like, I don't even know who they're talking about. So I personally just had a very hard time with place names and character names because yeah, a lot of these names are just so difficult, you guys, and I don't know if that's just a problem for me personally. But yeah, I'm hoping as the seasons progress, I'm kind of hoping once the seasons progress, I'll be able to grasp onto the names and places a little better, you know? And then, yeah, once again, to finalize this video, I am definitely looking forward to Season 2. I'm very excited for a Season 2, which I think has already been picked up. I'm curious to see where things are going, where the characters are going, the plot's going. I mean, a question for me, what is the ends game? You know what I mean? You know, with Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, you knew that the ring had to be destroyed. With Game of Thrones, you know that someone was ultimately at some point going to sit on the Iron Throne and the war had to be won. You know, in Harry Potter, you know that Lord Voldemort has to be defeated. So yeah, with The Witcher, a big question for me is, I don't know what the big thing is, you know what I mean? Who or what is the antagonist to these characters? So yeah, that was my biggest thing, is I ultimately don't know where this show is trying to progress to, because when I'm watching a show or a movie, you know, I need to know who the good guys are, I need to know who the bad guys are, and what is, you know, what is the big thing that needs to be stopped or defeated? You know, what do you need to reach by the end of the movie, or the end of the first season, or the end of a series? So that was a big thing for me. I just don't know where The Witcher as a whole is going, like what the big thing is, the big antagonist at this point. If there even is one, I don't know, maybe there's not one. But either way, I'm definitely really looking forward to Season 2. I'm hoping Season 2 will be a little bit more focused, that we might not have all these bouncing timelines. I'm fine with the timelines bouncing a little bit, but the amount I was doing in this first season was very confusing for the most part. But yeah, overall, love the first season. Can't wait for a second season. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on the first season of The Witcher. In the comments below, have you guys seen The Witcher? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you confused about certain things like I was? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.